Ever since I was a young kid, I wanted to talk to successful people and entrepreneurs and learn from them. Fast forward to today, I'm fortunate enough to be surrounded by a ton of successful self-made entrepreneurs who are achieving amazing accomplishments. This is a show where I sit down with them, I chat with them about business, all the ups, all the downs. Welcome to the Tom Wang Show. What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Tom Wang Show. Today we have a guest, a good friend of mine. His name is Connor. Don't really know how to pronounce your last name.
Nobody does. Shalafonchek.
Where is that?
Ukrainian.
Ukrainian.
Yeah,
all
Ukrainian.
Right. Cool. So Connor is I'm going to call you the dropshipping king because you've a lot of experience in the dropshipping world, right?
Yeah.
But more importantly, in business in general, you build hundreds and hundreds of dropshipping stores. So you probably know the space pretty well. We're going to dive deep into that. But more importantly, I want to kind of take this back to the beginning because a lot of people see successful people like you. They're like, oh, they must have either born with a lot of money, or they're super smart, or they just figured it out. But a lot of times it comes from humble beginnings. So I kind of want to talk about that. But before we dive deep into this podcast, I want to dedicate this special episode to Kobe Bryant, who passed away yesterday. So depending on when you guys are listening to this, probably in a few weeks, even maybe a month, Kobe Bryant passed away yesterday in a tragic helicopter accident with his daughter, as well as other 7 people on board. So rest in peace, everybody who's on the helicopter. And this one really, really hit home because it just hit it differently because it's Kobe. He's like invincible, he's like God status. He's done everything, and he's such a great, incredible human being. But, no one's greater than life itself. People can just go away in literally a snap of a finger. So if you're listening to this, guys, treasure each moment that you have, because nothing is guaranteed and tomorrow might never come. So whatever you're doing right now, just know that you're currently presently okay, and you're living and you're breathing, and that's really all that matters at the end of the day. So I was never a big basketball fan, but I watched every single one of Kobe's interviews on and off the court, because he's just he's got that mindset game dialed into a different level. So anyway, without further ado, Connor, welcome to the show, man. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for having me.
Of course, man. I've wanted to have you on for a little while, and we just had lunch at Cactus Club, and I'm all full and got a cup of coffee. So let's dive right in, Connor. So let's take this back to I know that you were addicted to video games.
Oh yeah.
When was that? How did you become addicted to it? Why were you addicted to it? And talk to us about the early days of you as a person.
Yeah, I mean, growing up, I had basically no social life. I was homeschooled, so I didn't have too many friends, and that's sort of where video games came into play for me. From basically like 13, I knew that I wanted to do something business oriented, owning my own business, pursuing something that would make me a lot of money, which I thought then would make me happy. And video games really just took over my life because it was escape from reality when reality wasn't super good. So I didn't, like I said, I didn't have much of a social life. So kind of going online, I was able to be a person that wasn't me, and I was super social online, and I had tons of friends online, do all these different things. So video games were really an escape from a method of escaping from the world. And unfortunately, I got so immersed in that it became a really, really toxic and negative situation when I was growing up, from basically like 13 to 18, 19.
Right.
When it was really, really bad.
So you were homeschooled. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I've never talked to anybody who was homeschooled.
Yeah.
How did you not go to, you didn't go to elementary school?
No.
What about high school?
Homeschooled right out of kindergarten.
What about high school?
No.
Wow, no high school either.
The most I would do would be occasionally there would be like an organized field trip from everybody that was homeschooled. So we'd go over to like Victoria or the aquarium or something. And that was like once every like 6 months. So my social activities with people my own age were really, really limited. The most I had was really, really through playing sports.
Right.
But homeschooling overall, it was good in a way because it gave me sort of the skills and the work ethic, I guess.
Let me ask you this question. Would you put your kids through homeschool?
I think now, yes.
Wow. Okay.
And the main reason for that is because I don't think public school gives kids what they need to be not even to be successful, just to be happy in life.
Mm-hmm.
Like I learned a lot of things from being homeschooled. Like independence was a big one, being able to be okay with yourself, being able to work on things without having a teacher there to tell you. Because I mean, I was homeschooled, yeah, but it's not like my parents were there 24/7 making sure I was doing what I needed to get done. So I sort of had to build up that work ethic of, I need to get this done. I'm on my own. Let's get it done. And that's really played into being able to work from home today, because a lot of people can't do that because they're distracted too often.
Yeah, it's tough to work from home. Like it's a lot of distractions and self-motivating.
Yeah.
Like that's huge, and especially in the e-commerce world, it's really hard to work from home
Yeah.
because it's a lonely job. That's one thing that e-commerce people don't talk about. It's because you have your computer with Amazon FBA people, you have your suppliers, talking to some Chinese suppliers till like 2 o'clock in the morning, and then that's that, right?
Yeah.
So it's always cool to get together with other e-commerce entrepreneurs because we can all relate, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you were addicted to video games. What kind of video games were you playing? Like shooting games
the
or
worst one was
strategies
League of Legends.
League of Legends,
That was like the most love-hate relationship, because I'm super competitive. I was competitive in sports. I was competitive mainly in gaming. So I absolutely hated the fact that I played it so much, but I got really good at it and I wanted to get better constantly. So I hated that I was playing it all the time, but I wanted to be the best at it, kind of thing. So it was such a toxic love-hate relationship. I think I played it for about 5 years.
That pretty much defines like an addict, right?
Yeah.
Like you hate
absolutely.
the fact that you do that.
I would hate it, and then I'd go and play for 12 hours, and then I'd hate myself for playing for 12 hours. And then I'd go play again because I hated it. I hated my life so much that it was almost like video games were escaping the fact that I hated doing it,
Right.
but it was the thing that I hated doing. It's such a weird thing to describe unless you've actually gone through some sort of like really bad form of addiction. But it's a very, very toxic relationship when you're in that phase.
Right. So talk to us about kind of when did business and entrepreneurship came into the picture? Like you were 18, you were addicted to playing League of Legends. How did you make that transition from quitting playing video games to actually doing your first startup?
So it was kind of funny. When I played video games, I would sort of use video games to make an income on the side. So whether it was coaching people or selling accounts or selling virtual goods in a game, I had always been able to find a way to support myself through gaming. And through doing that, ironically, I managed to figure out how to be a salesperson, because I had to convince people to buy my stuff or to buy coaching from me. I learned marketing because I would run, I wouldn't run ads, but I'd have like organic growth on like forums that would sell stuff. So I kind of learned from like 13 to 19, I kind of learned these skills that would eventually help me to sell different things outside of video games. But my mind was always on, what can I do outside of a 9 to 5 that I can support myself with? And then I happened to actually, how I got into Shopify was I was playing this game with a group of people, and one of them managed to not have a 9 to 5, and I was like, what are you doing? It piqued my interest because I was doing the same thing. I was selling on the video games, and he's like, yeah, I do this thing called dropshipping on Shopify, and I do it totally organically. Basically, he built this network through the colleges and universities, sororities, and he built this big network, and they would all promote his store for him. It was like trendy women's clothing, jewelry, accessories that he'd sell to these sororities, and he made about $100 to $200 a day doing that, and that's what sort of piqued my interest in, hey, it's really funny because my initial idea was, how can I make passive income so I can keep playing video games? So
Right.
I don't have to do anything else.
Right.
Because I was kind of getting to that age where it's like, okay, life's starting to kick in. I have more bills. I got to pay for more things, and making money from video games just wasn't going to cut it. So I was kind of at the same time, I was also working a warehouse job and a cleaning job to sort of make some extra money so I could do extra things. And he told me about the Shopify thing, and I started looking into it, and that's sort of where all of that started.
So that's how the rabbit hole began.
That's how the rabbit hole began.
How did you first start learning Shopify? Did you take a course or just YouTube, podcast? Like, how did you start learning this?
Initially, he was really, really helpful. So he kind of explained everything to me himself. And then me being the competitive person I am, was like, I just started going into info. So I was on YouTube, I was on Google. I didn't really have the money to buy any courses, like actual paid courses. So it was kind of like I would just go through probably hundreds of hours of YouTube videos collectively over the course of a couple weeks or a couple months. And I just learned like Facebook ads, Instagram ads, influencers. I learned organic, how it works, customer service, paid marketing, organic marketing, just all these different things through YouTube. And then I just built a store and I started testing it myself. And I really learned by just doing things myself and sort of figuring it out after, of course, I had sort of established a little bit of a base of knowledge around it off of YouTube and what other people were doing.
Right. So in terms of Shopify, and plus dropshipping. So for those people that are listening to this right now that maybe they don't know what dropshipping is, and maybe some people are like, dude, dropshipping is dead. We're in 2020. Like we see dropshipping is dead and we see all these ads. First, can you explain to people what dropshipping is?
Yeah.
And second, can you address those people that say, hey, dropshipping is dead? Because clearly you run currently 26 dropshipping stores right now, and I'm sure they're not all losing money for you. And you're not just like, oh, I'm just going to lose $1 million today, so I'm going to open up more more dropshipping stores. So yeah, can you address those 2 points for us?
Absolutely. So dropshipping, contrary to popular belief, has actually existed for a really, really long time. Like people have been doing it for maybe even 100 years. I don't know. It's been a long time. Dropshipping is basically just a form of commerce. You're not, it's nothing new. Basically, all you're doing is you're advertising. It's very similar to affiliate marketing, where you're advertising somebody else's product, and then you sell that product. And once you sell the product, then you go and buy it from the supplier and ship it to the person. So you don't hold physical inventory. You don't have a physical storefront. Quite often when you're starting, you don't even need like employees or anything like that. You can just do it yourself. And the only real skill that it takes is marketing. That's it. Until you scale, obviously, then you need to develop a whole lot more skills. But the act of dropshipping itself is literally just selling a product that somebody else currently owns. And then once somebody buys it from you, you pay that person, and the profit that you make is in the markup. So if they're selling the product for $10, you sell it for 40 on your website, buy it for 10 from them and sell it to the person for 40, you make $30, and then less any marketing fees or whatever fees you have in there. So dropshipping, very, very simple. It's existed for a long time, and it's never going to go anywhere. It's always going to exist.
Right. And what about people that say dropshipping is dead, it's 2020, there's no market in dropshipping? I mean, people are saying that for an obvious reason, right? Maybe I think a lot of people, they try it and it doesn't work for them. Therefore, they just quit and they say it doesn't work. So what would you say to the people that say, hey, dropshipping is dead?
Dropshipping is never going to die. It's like anything else, right? The markets change. The barrier to entry gets higher, so it gets harder. Sure, dropshipping 5 years ago was very different than it is now. It was much, much easier to get into because less people were doing it. So dropshipping now, most definitely not dead. In fact, it's probably there's more money in the space than there ever has been because e-commerce in general is only growing. The only difference is you can't just throw up a store now, run simple ads, or pay an influencer like you could 5 years ago and start making tons of money. The barrier to entry is a little bit harder. So you as a person, if you're just starting, your skills have to be a little bit better than they were 3 years ago. You can't just go in and expect to make money right out of the gate. Some people do because they hit a hot product or they hit a hot niche or something that nobody else is really in. But for the average person, like my first store failed. My first 5 store, I don't even know. I had so many failed business attempts prior to the one that worked, and that was when it was easier. Now it's harder. So not going anywhere, definitely harder to get into, but it'll exist for forever, really. It's just a business model, right?
Yeah, and it's very similar to Amazon as well, because Amazon back in 2015 when you first started, those are the golden days of Amazon. You can buy reviews. You can buy 1,000 reviews and be on page 1 tomorrow with 1,000 reviews, and you can just generate a bunch of organic sales right away. Now reviews have changed. You got to find different ways to get reviews. Ranking has changed. You got to learn a little bit about Facebook, a little bit about branding. You can no longer put up like a random product that you get from Alibaba, slap your logo on it, and call it a day, take a photo on an iPhone. So it's very similar to Amazon in a sense that the business model is still there. People are still consuming the content. It's just that the players in it needs to adapt to the latest strategies and all that type of stuff. So when it comes to dropshipping, right, like it's very, very, very reliant on the product itself, correct? Like would you say like 90% of the work is just finding the right product? Would you say like that's
Yeah, it's when you're first starting, it's very, very product centric.
right?
Because you don't have high level marketing skills at that point in time. So finding a hot product is really, really key. Once you get to a point where you get really good at marketing, you can sell products that like now we take products that nobody else is selling, we make them popular because I have a lot of marketing experience now and I know how to make somebody want the product. But if you're first starting, it's like probably 95% finding the right product because you just don't have the other skills to make people want to buy it.
So two-part question. Number one, how do you find a product? I guess that's the $1,000,000 question, isn't it?
Yeah.
But in Amazon space, you know, there's a set of criteria that you look for. It seems like in dropshipping, there is a criteria, but it's not as specific as Amazon.
Yeah.
It seems like from what I'm hearing, it's just a lot of testing. And it's like throwing shit against the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah.
Based on your experience, how do you find profitable products? How can someone who's starting out find profitable products? What are some of the things that you have to look out for?
Yeah, so my recommendation for people starting out has always been go with something that's already working, because you eliminate that factor of, is it my product or is it my marketing? Now it's only, is it my marketing? So if you see, you know, we still do this today. We'll go onto Facebook and we'll search, you know, the phrase 50% off in the search bar, and we'll just scroll down and we'll look at what products have that phrase in it that are selling, that have high engagement. We'll check it. Okay, this is being drop shipped. The website kind of sucks. The marketing is okay. They have no follow-up sequences with email or anything. So let's grab this product off of AliExpress. Let's make our own store around it, and then we'll try and market it. And I found like so many products that have been successful at like a small to mid range by just doing that, by literally just finding a product that somebody else is drop shipping successfully and just doing a slightly better job of it. So that's my number one recommendation for people just starting, because it eliminates that product factor. You already know somebody else is selling it well. So if it's not working for you, then you know that you're just doing something wrong when it comes to marketing.
Right. And then when you say engagement, you just mean like the likes, the comments, the shares. Like if the numbers are really high, that means the ads is running. That means hypothetically speaking, it's selling a lot. So you're just essentially copying the same product. And then you have to build your own Shopify store, your own ads and everything like that. How long does it take to actually, like, once you get better at it, right? How long do you think it takes to launch like a dropshipping store?
Once you're good at it, 3 hours.
3 hours.
Yeah, 3 hours. We have a 24-hour turnover because the ads have to go through a review process. That's longer than the actual store build. But a store build from start to finish, if you already have the product, is less than 3 hours once you're good at it. The first one, it'll take you 2 weeks because there's so many little things that you like, how does this work? How do I do that kind of thing? But once you've done it a million times over, I can get a store up now that looks good, will convert in less than 3 hours.
Amazon takes like 3 months.
Yeah.
Because you got to wait for the product to come. You got to create your Amazon store, all that type of stuff. Two different business models, but kind of the same. Now, you mentioned a lot about marketing, right? And you call yourself a marketer first,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
So let's talk about marketing. I remember I went to a talk of yours at CBC, and you're like, this ad copy made me like $500,000 or something like that. And you were targeting some like Christian niche.
Yep.
So talk to us about just some general rules of marketing. Like, say you're selling this like succulent product, like right in front of us, there's a fake succulent. Like, how do you make that sexy? How do you make that so that someone's browsing through Facebook, sitting on the toilet in the morning, going through Facebook, and then see a fake succulent and want to buy that? What are do you have like a formula? Do you have like, talk to us a little bit about marketing.
Yeah, so basically in this day and age, we're really heavily involved in direct response marketing. So
what's direct response?
Direct response is basically, so if you look at marketing like 100 years ago, you would buy, newspaper ads, and that person might come into your physical location that they live 30 minutes from a month later. So you can't necessarily get a perfect measure on, are our newspaper ads working, or is it the billboard ads that are working, or this and that? That was more of building awareness for your brand and then sort of reaping the rewards later. With direct response, I know what people are doing within, however long it takes Facebook to attribute the action that they took. So if somebody makes a purchase off of one of my ads, typically within an hour, I know that ad is making purchases. So we're able to see, because people are seeing it. And then within 60 seconds, they're going to the store, making a purchase, and then leaving or not choosing to purchase. So we get a direct response immediately. We know within 24 hours of launching ads exactly what people are doing. But the key to that is it's much harder to sell somebody. I think the average time that people look at an ad on Facebook now is 1.6 seconds. So you have 1.6 seconds to capture somebody's attention.
Right.
So how do you do that? You
need a Lamborghini and you need a girl in the picture. That's how.
Yeah, that was 3 years ago.
That's how the gurus.
Doesn't work
that's
anymore.
how the gurus do it.
Yeah, that was really 3 years ago when people were first. That's so overdone now that people don't even believe that it's your Lambo anymore.
Yeah.
I think you get better success now. I know somebody who runs an ad in like their 2004 Honda Civic, and they get better ads than when they had better response than when they had the rented Lambo, because it's more honest. People are looking for more honesty now.
Yeah. The market is aware of the gurus of the Lambos.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But anyway, you were talking about how do you do.
So everything now we call it the impulse market, which is Facebook and Instagram and anything really that is direct response. It's all emotional. Everything is emotional. People resonate with something that gives them an emotional connection so much more than just saying, hey, this is what the product does and this is why you need to have it, kind of thing like that. That a lot of people try to sell logically on Facebook and Instagram, but that doesn't really work because people something logical isn't resonating with them in 1.6 seconds. But if you see an ad that creates some sort of emotional movement within you or connects with a memory or something like that, that's what piques people's interest. And then when they get to your website, you can hit them with the logic, because now they're looking for a logical reason why they should buy the product. So
can you give us an example of like a product that you don't sell anymore that sold really well before? Like what's emotional about one of the, like, give us a real like example.
I'll give you this is the example I always go to. I worked with a chiropractor quite a while ago now on getting more leads for his clinic. And he was running ads on Facebook, and what he was doing is he was selling based on logic. So it was like, hey, is your back sore? Come in, we'll fix your back, we'll get rid of the pain. And that was, yes, bringing people in because people they want to get rid of the pain. But the thing that really blew everything up was when we dug into the deeper reason with why people wanted to get rid of the pain. So the deeper reason in one instance was because fathers couldn't go outside and throw a ball with their kids because their back hurt so much. So when we created an ad around, hey, come fix your back so you can go play with your kids, that is what started to change things. Right. Because there was now an emotion, there was a level of depth in there that really resonated with somebody, and using imagery and videos of people playing with their kids, it brought that emotion to the table that an ad that was just purely based around logic wasn't going to do. So
my question to you is, because you have so many products and you're not an expert in every single product, you probably sell a lot of products that you've never even used before. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Absolutely.
So how do you, let's say, what's like a product that you sold and that did pretty well? Like, I don't know, like, do you have any?
Probably the best example, actually last year we sold a rose for Valentine's.
Rose, okay.
A rose for Valentine's. You probably see it on Facebook now because a few brands have picked it up and they're doing some huge numbers with it. But I saw this rose in January. I think it was mid-January of last year. And I saw here's a product somebody else was running. They were doing really well, and the copy was very bland. It was very logical. It was like, hey, here's a cool rose that you can give to your significant other for Valentine's Day. And it was like a 3-day-old ad, and it had like 70,000 engagement on it. And I saw that, I was like, I could turn this into something really cool. So I went and built a store around that, and I built an ad around it. And the ad was like 2 paragraphs or 3 paragraphs long, and it dove into the emotions of memories that you have had with your significant other. So I went in to talk about, like, this rose will remind you of your first date, of your first kiss, of the first vacation you went on, and I kind of tied those emotional memories to the product, and then I dubbed it at the end. I was like, every time you look at this rose, you're going to feel that love and that emotion from all of those memories in the past. And it was really long copy, And we ran it for like 11 days or 10 days and did 170K on it, like from brand new to $170,000.
What's the most you made on one product?
One product, just over $3 million on one product.
How long were you running that campaign for?
That has been still going.
Still running.
Oh,
yeah,
wow. That's been going for about 2 years. About 2 years now.
Wow, still running.
Yeah, still running.
So I can't really ask you what it is.
No.
That's the number one rule for Amazon sellers and dropshippers, because the product means so much to them.
Yeah.
That's cool. So what's the average profit margin in the dropshipping industry? Like, what's the low end? What's the high end? What's the average?
Usually you see between 20 and 40%. That's after ad costs.
Wow.
On something that's doing really well. If you're like, we have some stores that are kind of really low volume and they're kind of doing okay. They're still making like 10 to 15%. But the good ones go from 20 to 40%.
So because Facebook ad is going up so much over the past years, and that's obviously like not even an argument, like it is, right?
I'm going to argue with you on that one.
No, can't argue with me on that one. I know the facts, I know the numbers, but it's very obvious that the trend is going to continue going up as well. So with products that have low margins, maybe great margins, maybe like 60, 70% margins, 80%, but the dollar amount is so low, the unit margin is so low that it becomes, not feasible to keep running ads with those specific products. I've seen a lot of courses basically teaching like dropshipping lifestyle. They started dropshipping a lot of more expensive products. Like I'm talking about like kayaks and like pool tables, like really, really expensive made in US products. What are your thoughts regarding what I just said? Like, are you starting to explore higher ticket items? Are you starting to explore made in USA products, or is most of your products still kind of like made in China, low ticket or whatever?
Yeah, so the point of ad costs going up, yes, they are, absolutely. But that's mainly because of competition in the market. I don't think like Facebook doesn't, I mean, I don't know this for a fact because I'm not Facebook. I don't think that they charge more than they did 4 years ago. I think that competition drives the price up because more and more people are willing to pay more.
Right, it's just a bidding system.
Yeah, it's a bidding system. The thing with that is Facebook values quality over how much you're paying them, and that changed about 2 years ago. So if you have very high quality content, I pay less per impression now than I was paying 2 years ago because my content quality is much, much higher. So our CPA is actually lower in a lot of instances than it was a couple years ago because the content is so much higher. And if you're creating content that's higher quality than your competitors, you're actually going to pay less than them because Facebook does value high quality content over how much you're paying them now. So yes, it absolutely is going up if you're somebody who's doing the exact same thing as everybody else and you're not trying to constantly improve how you're selling and how you're marketing and the content you're putting out there.
Interesting. So in terms of, let's talk about content, because it sounds like content is really, really important.
Yeah.
You got 1.6 seconds to catch some guy's attention. The ad cost is going up if you don't have good content. So when it comes to dropshipping products, and you also have private label brands too, correct?
Yeah.
So let's talk about both. With dropshipping products, how do you go about creating really good content? Is it usually photos or video format? And how do you create content for private label brands?
Yeah, so that's the thing that I've noticed with Facebook is it's so organic that people don't really like high quality content on Facebook.
Like a full-on production
Yeah,
video.
yeah. When I say high quality, I mean when it comes to production value, not like the actual, the text or the product. It's so organic that we found that like a selfie of somebody wearing the product performs typically better than like a $5,000 photo shoot with perfect lighting and this and that, because, and I've caught myself doing this so many times, I'll be scrolling through Facebook and I'll see a post and I'm like, hey, that looks interesting, and I'll start reading, and then I see the sponsored message, like, damn, that's a good ad, because it caught my attention. I didn't even know if that it was a product. I just saw something that looked so organic and caught my attention, and then afterwards I realized it was an ad. So when it comes to creating our content, we just try to keep it as organic and something that blends in with the news feed. Because if somebody thinks that, hey, this could be somebody on my friends list that just made a post, that's going to give you more time to sort of introduce what you're trying to get in front of them than like a high quality, $10,000 video shoot that has perfect lighting and models and makeup and all of this sort of stuff. Not to say that that doesn't work, because in some instances it absolutely does, but we really look for that organic style content that really blends in.
Right. And I remember one thing you said before at the CBC talk. You were saying that no one goes on Facebook to be like, to buy things.
Yeah,
no one does that.
No.
We go on Facebook to browse for education, for entertainment, mostly entertainment. So you really need to understand the buyer psychology when they go on Facebook and how to break through that, so you can turn someone who's just literally browsing into like a potential lead, essentially. And the marketing changes very, very differently for that. I kind of want to, we've been talking about dropshipping for quite a bit, which is interesting and all. I want to kind of shift the conversation into more of your story, because I always find that really fascinating. And that's one of the reasons why I created this podcast. A lot of it is for selfish reasons, because I just want to take this opportunity and just like understand like who you are, how did you accomplish such amazing, accomplishments and whatnot. So the last time we talked was basically you were addicted to video games, and you met this guy on probably like a chat room, whatever.
Yeah.
And he does drop shipping, and then that's how you got into drop shipping. You launched 5 stores, it didn't work. Very typical, right? For like any businesses. My first like few products on Amazon didn't work either. So talk to us a little bit about what happened after that. Like 5 didn't work. You're a competitive guy. You're probably like, fuck that. I'm not gonna wait. I'm not gonna give up.
Yeah.
So how did you make the transition of fail? Was there a light switch that turned off, that maybe you found a mentor that kind of gave you a different perspective on things, or was it just like continuously hitting your head against the wall until you broke that wall down?
Yeah, it was a little bit of both, for sure. My first quote unquote official mentor was Sam Ovens.
Oh, cool.
Absolutely brilliant when it comes to consulting, but his mindset training and the mindset exercises and work that I went through was really what allowed me to just keep pushing, because it's very like I went down, I burned through my entire life savings. I saved up like $30,000 basically. That was everything I'd saved, and I burned through all of that within a few months. It was an investment. It was a learning investment. Like I don't say I failed anymore. I just say I learned. But I burned through all of that, and then on with my last I had like $9 in my bank account kind of thing, and I borrowed $300 from a friend to launch another store. And the thing that I really learned through Sam was there's no such thing as a failure in a situation as long as you learn at least one thing, as long as there's one positive thing that comes from each situation. So what I did, every time a store failed, I looked for one thing in that store that was positive, that was like, hey, this worked a little bit. Maybe it wasn't profitable, but it was way better than these other 20 things that just did horribly. So I'd start another store that kind of revolved around the positive thing that happened, and then that store would do a little better, and then there'd be one positive, and then I'd do the next one. So it was really just there's a really great exercise that sort of readjusts your mind. I'm a firm believer that all of our negativity comes from our past, basically. So what I did was I went and wrote down, and it takes like an entire day to do this. You write down every negative thing that you can remember that has ever happened to you, and beside it, you write down at least one positive thing that came from it. So, if you were antisocial, okay, or if you had no social life, okay, then you learned independence, that's positive. You learned how to work on your own, that's positive. So you basically just associate every negative thing that happened to you in your past with positivity. And then going forward, anytime I had a negative situation, like a quote unquote failed store, I would right away write down all the positives that came from it. And through doing that over and over and over, it was eventually the last store, like I said, where I had $9 or $8 or whatever in my account, borrowed $300 from a friend. That was my first 6-figure store. That net, I think, like $40,000 in profit. That allowed me to then keep going and trying something new. And I still had so many failures after that. But that was sort of the ideology of just look at what worked. Even if it didn't make you money, it still worked better than something else. Try that, expand on that, do the same thing over and over and over, and eventually one of them's going to stick, because you just every attempt I just got better. Right. Better at marketing, better at making a website, better at picking products, better at product photos, better at descriptions. Every time I did something a little bit better, and eventually it stuck.
Right, right. So, okay, so you found your first store that did really well. You know, you made six figures or in revenue and then netted a bunch of money. So at that point, were you just like, wow, this is crazy. I've never
Yeah.
made this much
Oh,
money
yeah.
before. And I'm just going to go all in on this now. Like, did you reinvest all the $40,000 back, or like, how did that
Yeah,
process work?
I sort of I think every time you start making a lot of money that at the time you think is a lot of money, you start to get scared again because you've made all this money and you're like, well, what if I lose all of it? So I remember I made like 40 grand, and then I just kind of stopped pushing because I was like, well, I don't want to lose the 40 grand because I just made it. So you end up like, when you don't have a ton of money, it's kind of like, okay, I don't really have anything to lose, so I'm just going to push. But when you start making money, the downside starts to weigh more than the upside because now you can lose everything that you just made. So it was a really big struggle. So I kind of half-assed a lot of things, and a lot of those things failed because I wasn't willing to go all in. And I half-assed, and I actually lost almost all of that 40 grand by half-assing it. And then I managed to sell the store that was still making a small amount of money for another 40 grand. And that I just went all in with that. I remember I was like, I already lost the last 40 grand and it wasn't the end of the world because I was still a happy person and I still had my basic necessities and stuff taken care of. So I was like, whatever. I realized I didn't need that money to be happy. So now the upside was bigger than the downside. And I went all in on that. And then that all in was the first 7-figure store.
Wow.
When I again put everything on the table, it was like, I'm going all in. I'm confident in myself. I'm going to make it work. And if I don't, whatever, I'll get better at some things. And then that was the first 7-figure store.
So when rough timeline right now is 2020 January. When was that? When
That
you first
was 3 years ago now. 3 years ago.
So 2017.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So so basically you just kept on rinsing. I mean, look, this is obviously going to sound really naive, but dropshipping, you create a store, and most of the stores look like shit, by the way. Like they just look.
yeah.
I'm like, this is for sure a dropshipping store. So it's not like a fancy website with like crazy production. It's like, I can't even believe people are buying stuff from this website. You make an ad, you run Facebook ads. So like, what is the hardest part about running like a dropshipping store, other than finding the product?
The marketing.
Marketing.
Absolutely, the marketing. If you want to scale, when you scale, I mean, you get customer service comes into the picture, fulfillment. Now it's way different than it was 3 years ago. Because 3 years ago, like, you had to manually fulfill every freaking order. So you had to hire, I had to hire a VA that was working like 8 hours a day, fulfilling 1,100 orders a day, and then dealing with 1,100 customers, or I think we were averaging like 300 support tickets a day at that point. So that was a big thing, but you can always hire somebody who sort of knows that and can do that. The biggest difficulty was the marketing, because it's hard to trust somebody else with your marketing. So you have to constantly get better. The more you spend on Facebook, the slimmer your margin gets. So the more creative you have to be, the more content you have to create, the more you have to diversify, the different channels you have to get into. That's what starts to get hard. And it starts to get scary when you start managing $10,000 a day in cash flow through marketing and inventory and stuff like that. Because if everything goes wrong for 3 days, you're out 30 grand.
Right. Wow.
Very quickly.
Right. So you made your first million, your first 7-figure store, and then I mean now you have like 26 Shopify stores.
Yeah.
And during lunch we were talking about the fact that last year you were trying to open like a store each day, which you did, and then you're like, wait a second, this is way too much work. So let me pull back the scale. From 2017 until 2020, which when we're talking about this right now, what did you kind of do between those 3 years? Where you just rinse, repeat, literally just kept on doing the same stuff to scale the business? Or were you like, hey, this is kind of getting a little boring, I want to try maybe SaaS, I want to try teaching, I want to try other type of businesses? Talk to us a little bit about what went on in those 3 years.
Yeah, a lot of it was rinse and repeat. I did a ton of drop shipping stores. We would try stuff. I'd see something that looked like it was working, I'd build a store around it. That started to get really boring. And what the more money I made, the more I was doing, the more I started to realize money isn't making me happy whatsoever. I had like a solid year of, I had hit all my monetary goals. My goal was like make $1 million, buy my first house, buy my first property. And I did all of that successfully. And then I remember one day I was sitting there and I was like, I am literally no happier than I was 2 years ago. And that sort of realization that monetary goals were not what made me happy hit really hard, because you work for so long thinking that these goals are what you want to reach. You know, you want to buy the Lambo, you want to have the nice house with the view and the cash in the bank and all that sort of stuff. And I did everything to work towards that. And then it was just like, now what? I've done all this. I don't want to build a bigger goal because that's not going to make me happy. So what do I do? So I kind of transitioned. I wouldn't say transitioned. I would say I started working more on what was making me happy, which was helping other people get started. So I launched like a course. I started working with like one-on-ones and group and coaching and stuff like that. I was still doing drop shipping because I needed the cash basically to obviously to pay for software and develop courses and pay for developing content and stuff like that. But it really changed my perspective on what was going to make me happy as a person in life, and sort of realign my my future goals away from monetary goals and into more stuff like helping people and helping animals and stuff like that, and pursuing other passions like acting. So I kind of went from being all in dropshipping to making money to using dropshipping, using building e-com brands to fund what I truly want to do.
And I think that's the beauty. And I think that's where really money is, right? Money, I always preach, money is just a vehicle. Money is just a tool. Like, don't think money is the end and the end goal. That's not what money is. You're always going to find someone who's richer than you monetarily. There's always going to be someone who has, you know, you're doing 7 figures, he does 8, and then they do 9. And you get into this weird comparison game. But money is really just a way for you to experience life to all that is. For example, earlier we're talking, you can take classes with the guy who, you know, worked with Leonardo DiCaprio and all these crazy filmmakers, actors. Like, if you're broke, there's no way you can do that. Like, next week you're going to LA for 2 weeks. You can just get away and just do all those different type of things. And that's what I think business is, right? Business is just a vehicle for you to really live your life on your own terms, so that ultimately you have freedom to do whatever you want. And that's really what I think a lot of us are trying to achieve. It's just freedom. But first you need to make the money. Because without money, you're going to have a lot of these headaches of, oh, how am I going to pay my bill tomorrow? Where am I going to get my next, you know, paycheck from? All these worries are now basically no worries anymore. Right? So that's really interesting. I think I'm at the point of my kind of entrepreneurial journey, and I feel like entrepreneurial journey is it's like a self-development course.
Oh yeah,
that's what it
changes every year.
Yeah, it's literally what it is. It's just like you learn so much about yourself. What are some of the other lessons you've learned along this journey? I know that you talked about mindset, which I love. It's like turning the negatives into the positives. You talked about money is not the end goal; it's just a tool. What is there anything else that you discovered kind of along the way that might have surprised the younger Connor?
Oh, there is a never-ending amount of lessons. The not focusing on money was by far the biggest one. Surrounding yourself with different people is a huge lesson. I struggled a lot with friendships that have existed for a long time, and realizing that those friendships just don't need to continue. They shouldn't continue because it's not beneficial for either person. So lessons in who you spend your time with, lessons in mortality, really. You know, realizing that you going out on a Friday with a bunch of friends and being hungover for Saturday and Sunday, you don't get that time back. So understanding that if there's something you want to do with your life, you have to do it now, because you have no idea. You have no idea what's going to happen tomorrow. So, and for me, growing up, I was always like, okay, I can't do it now. I'll do it later. I'll do it next week, or I'll do it next month or next year or whatever, or I'll work towards that. That's what stopped me from doing a lot of things growing up, because I didn't sort of have that realization that you got to live right now. If you want to go and travel, quit your job and go and travel because you may not have that opportunity next year. That was a huge lesson for me.
Right.
Especially losing friends, losing people, seeing people, passing away at young ages. It's just, you gotta do what you love right now, and don't let money or people, especially people, tell you that you shouldn't do that. So many people, I'm trying to move to LA right now. The amount of resistance that I have, that people are like, LA is too expensive, don't go there. Like, it's just nothing but negative from tons of people that are just trying to stop me from doing that. But I'm like, no, this is what I want to do. I have to do that because I don't know if I'll be able to next year. So just understand the fact that you got to live now. You got to live in the moment right now.
Right. So what are you moving to LA for?
Acting.
Acting.
Yeah. I came to realize, actually, there's a really great quote that I found when I was in London on a wall in a bar. And it's like, this is like life-changing quote. And it was basically, the only way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. So acting to me is finding myself through losing myself in the service to others. So, being emotionally connected on screen, or creating something that has meaning for a large group of people. To me, that is just so much more meaningful than just making money.
It's kind of like serving the world, right?
Yeah, exactly. To me, acting is a marketing channel that allows you to get a positive message out to a mass amount of people.
It's so true. So I met Tom Bilyeu a couple of years ago, and he's trying to build up a company. He asked me the question. He said, which company has influenced more people around the world than any other company? Do you want to take a guess?
Oh, I would have no idea.
Disney.
Okay.
Because they're production, they're production entertainment company. I mean, they got their hands in so many different, but it's mostly entertainment, right? Whether it's through movies or through theme parks or just making people feel happy. That's their whole slogan, right? But every single one of their movies, if you take a look at Lion's King, if you look at Milan, whatever movie there is, it's all kind of surrounding a central theme.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if you are a kid who grew up in China like me. I remember when I was like, 7, 8 years old, my dad took me to a theater and we watched Lion King in Chinese. I will never forget that. And it doesn't matter if you're European or whatever. So these movies are reaching the world globally, and it's making a positive impact in other people's lives. Speaking of Disney, I'm actually reading the book right now. I forgot the title. It's like The Ride of a Lifetime, I believe.
Yep, Ride of a Lifetime.
Yeah, Ride of a Lifetime.
Disney CEO.
Yeah, he's great book. No, he's still the CEO.
Oh, is he still the CEO?
He's still the CEO. Yeah, great book so far. But it was interesting because he's like, I've been wanting to write a book for a little while, but I felt like I was not good enough to write a book. I'm like, dude, like this guy is the CEO of Disney for 15 years, and even he has essentially
doubts never go away. Doesn't matter. You could be. I guarantee you, Jeff Bezos has doubts every day. Has doubts. Am I the right person for this? Am I doing the right thing? Guarantee it. There's not a person on this planet who doesn't go through doubts and negativity.
And then for me, it's like I teach Amazon, and so many times I'm like, oh, am I even like eligible to be teaching? When my store did like $3 million US last year, and my best friend who started his Amazon business in April is now doing $100,000 under my guidance. But it's weird. Like we all have those self-doubts, right? Are we good enough? And like all of us are good enough for whatever thing we're good enough for. You just got to be strong and think that. So Connor, I mean, I asked some people some questions. Hopefully we got some questions. Let's see. Let's see. I just posted it not too long ago. So let's see here. Okay, we got some questions here. So not a whole lot, but let's answer them. So Harry, wow, I can't even pronounce this. Have you launched any products simultaneously on FBA to compare results?
No, never launched anything on FBA.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of Amazon because you don't own the data.
Right.
I like to own the data. So emails, phone, name, all that sort of stuff. I also don't know FBA well enough to probably do that competently. And my thing has always been, go all in on one thing. So maybe I'll hire somebody one day. I'm sure I will, to get into FBA as a channel. But me, myself personally, no.
Cool. We got Philip, who asked, best way to learn Facebook ads?
Oh, just get on YouTube.
Waste money.
Yeah, waste money.
Waste money on Facebook.
Exactly.
And then you're going to learn.
It's the best way to learn Facebook is to just run an ad. You could run an ad for $1 a day, and you will learn so much about data analysis, how to analyze KPIs, what's working emotionally. Just run the ad. I mean, you can take a course. Obviously, there's hundreds of courses out there. But at the end of the day, nothing is going to teach you better than just doing it.
Absolutely. I agree. And then we got the last one here. Hey, guys, what was his first business? Well, we answered it. Your first business was actually selling like skins and stuff. Virtual skin.
Gold, virtual items.
And what was the most profitable online shop? Is that the one you're currently running right now?
Yeah, the one we're currently running. We just broke $4.2 million on it. Yeah.
That's amazing. So we can't really discuss much about that shop right now just because Connor is going through a possible acquisition. So when it comes to, acquisition times, you don't want to basically say anything that can jeopardize the deal because it's just stupid to do. So
absolutely,
maybe we can talk about it after
it's acquired. Then we'll go back and do a case study on it.
That would be cool, man. So that's pretty much it, Connor. Is there any last words that you want to tell people who are listening to this? Maybe people that haven't started their business yet, maybe people that started but it's not doing too well, or maybe it's people that started a business, is doing well, and they're just looking to go all in. What are some of the things that you would say to these folks?
There's no such thing as failure. That is the greatest lesson that I have ever learned, is no matter what happens, it's like I was saying earlier, take one positive thing out of it. If you've had failure, everybody's had failures. Go back in your life and associate every negative with a positive, then do that with what you're doing right now, and just understand that no matter how bad it looks like a situation actually is, 10 years from now or 5 years or even a year from now, you are going to be so much better as a person or at what you do because that happened. So fail as much as you possibly can. There's a quote, I can't remember who it's by, but it's something like, the one who comes out on top is the one who failed the most.
Absolutely. I think every single successful person that I've gotten to know over the past couple of years had way more failures than successes. And the funny part is the people that never had any success never failed. Yeah. So guys, if you want to succeed, whatever success means to you, maybe it's being an actor. Well, you got to go through a shitload of auditions. Yep. Maybe it's e-commerce. Well, you better launch a lot of products. Failure is inevitable, and each failure that you incur actually gets you closer to the end goal. So fail fast, fail forward, and start failing today. Yeah. That's what I would say to that as well. So Connor, thank you very much for being on the show. And guys, for those who are listening right now, give me a follow on Instagram. On there quite a bit. Also, you can follow me on YouTube, and just documenting my journey, inspire you guys to take action. And there's nothing special about Connor. There's nothing special about me, but we're the ones who are willing to fail. And ultimately, you just learn a lot through this experience, and you get better. So, that's pretty much it. I really hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the Tom Wang Show. Go to iTunes and Spotify. Leave your boy a review as well. That would be greatly appreciated. It's so hard to get reviews these days, man.
I got you. Don't worry.
Really, Connor. I'm going to get all my guests to leave me a review. But that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I'll see you guys in exactly 2 weeks from today on the next episode of the Tom Wang Show.